So it's been a little while since I showed my face. So you would know if you follow the channel that I am obviously very big on sweets, and I've been taking a bit more chances to, well, as many chances as I can to find things that I would be interested in tasting on the channel. Things that that pique my interest, but essentially I've also been very curious about trying more traditional, I suppose, like Australian related Christmas desserts, or just the more sort of national desserts, because we don't actually have very many. And it's very interesting because my family, even though I grew up here, weren't very big on Christmas or like celebration in terms of that, so we don't really do any like things like setting up Christmas trees or eating like a very sort of Christmassy kind of dinner. So we obviously missed out on all the desserts as well. And that just made me more interested in wanting to learn a little bit about the history of the desserts, because I know a lot of them when I come across them, because they're usually sold at least a month earlier before Christmas in even just basic grocery stores. Maybe some bakeries start doing some more festive stuff, but I really don't know anything about them. So even though I've seen things like, if you haven't seen, I can link the video down below. My last video, one of the things I tasted was the Christmas pudding, which also has some origins from the UK and from a long time ago in Australia, and it was a little bit different to how it's made these days. So if you're interested, have a look at that. So today I wanted to show you guys, if you don't have this in your country, around Christmas we typically have this in a lot of grocery stores. Fruit mince pies. So I looked it up a little bit, and correct me if you know more or if I'm wrong, or but from what I've read, it seems like at the moment when you go to grocery stores or places like that, generally fruit mince pies are obviously these sort of short, crusty kind of pastries, little pies that are filled with fruit mince fillings. And fruit-wise, I guess it's pretty similar to a lot of other things that they'll probably be putting inside. Let's see, raisins, sultanas, apple, and lemon peel. So kind of like the zesty stuff, and also kind of the more common dried fruits, I suppose you would say, that were usually put in, like, say, fruit cakes. Seems like the two main things that are often added are either rum or brandy, so they're usually served with alcohol. Seems like there's a lot of relation with alcohol over Christmas for Australians, but this might be more of a recent thing because it doesn't seem to mention it in terms of the history. So in terms of the history, apparently, like the fruit pudding, the Christmas pudding, fruit mince pies used to have more of a savoury origin, so they used to put meat in there. That's why they're called mince pies usually, for short, because their origins are actually more meat-based. And obviously they've called it fruit mince pies now because it's adapted into something sweet, and it's no longer really accurate calling them mince pies. And they used to be made actually in celebration. They're made into oval shapes rather than the sort of standard tart shape that they are now, or mini pie shapes, because they were supposed to celebrate the manger that Jesus was born in, and like they have the little sort of felly parts, I guess, on the top to represent his clothes and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of it. But apparently another interesting thing that I learned about it was they used to say that tradition has it that if you were to have, in the 12 days that lead up to Christmas, every single night, if you had a fruit mince pie, you would have happiness for the rest of the year. And I think that's a more UK tradition maybe, rather than from Australia, because I have not heard that before, and not many people seem to talk about it. But then again, fruit mince pie is something that's festive, but it's also one of those, I guess, like slightly niched, like you know, in a country where a lot of people engage in that and a lot of people also don't, and most of the people that I do know don't seem to be eating that anymore, even though there are some that do celebrate Christmas. Yeah, but then again, I don't know many people that are super like traditional to begin with, I guess. Anyway, so they can be served cold or hot according to people online. This package that I bought is basically, the description is butter-rich short crust pastry filled with a rich fruit mince made with Bundaberg rum. And they do suggest to heat it up. It says preheat oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Celsius for fan force and heat for 2 to 5 minutes. And that's what I've done now. I'm just gonna go get it and then we'll have a taste. I did have fruit mince pies, I think a few years back, maybe 2 or 3 years back, just because I was always really curious about it, and they just look so dainty and kind of inviting. Like, I'm just curious, and it's sweet, so you know. But I've never been huge on like fruit cakes to begin with, so fruit pudding, like Christmas pudding and fruit mince pies were things that I kind of were like, I could go with or without. So now I have a reason to really be like delving in again and kind of investigate a bit further. I want to try it again, and I want to try it hot because I definitely didn't try it hot last time. Apparently a lot of people like to serve it with ice cream. Hot and cold combination, always a good choice. I'm just going to go straight up because I want to have the proper experience first, I guess, if anything. So, 1 second. Okay, so they're fresh out of the oven. They've been definitely more than 5 minutes. I've been basically heating it at 180 degrees Celsius, but it's been kind of heating up as well for pretty much the whole time when I was doing the intro. So yeah, they have a very almost it's that kind of same flavor that you get from a hot cross bun. You have a little bit of that spice flavor, and then so they're probably using similar spices maybe, and also that dried raisin part of it and sultanas, these kind of dried fruits. These are things that go into a hot cross bun around Easter anyway, so it makes sense that it smells exactly like that. I'm not getting much of the, say, like buttery part of the pastry, but it definitely browns a little bit and looks really nice when it's a bit browner. I like just the simplicity of, I guess, this dessert, and it's a cute idea to be eating one of these every night for the 12 days to get happiness for the rest of the year. It's kind of a bit like some of the traditions like of certain desserts in Chinese New Year's and Chinese and Taiwanese culture, where people are just you know, have like different desserts which have either names that symbolize something or just like the idea of something, say prosperity and all that, to do with like the way it's pronounced, etc., or what's made or put in it, etc. Okay, now this is a bit hard to get in. You know what? Let's just for this one, I'm going to maybe just peel it away. Can I peel it away? Yes, I can peel it away. One part's kind of stuck. Hey! Right, so it's gonna be, contents will be hot according to the warning, so here we go. Pastry's really good, really crumbly, really buttery. This one's sort of the medium price range of the ones they offered there. One of them was made with brandy, which was a little bit more expensive, but looked pretty similar in terms of quality, I guess. And this one's made with rum. You can taste the rum, but it's not overwhelmingly so it's pretty good. It's better as well that it's warmed up, so I think if it's your first time, definitely do try it warmed up, because it really enhances the textural experience as well. It makes the fruits almost a bit more caramelized because of the heat, a little bit more melty, a little bit more sticky. It's got that fudgy sort of like texture to it almost, but it kind of melts into your mouth a bit like jam. It's really fruity, it's got the spices. You get just a little bit of that aroma from like the rum, and then a really warming sensation, and then the flavor kind of really comes through and accents it at the end. So what I'm really surprised, I guess, about this is that I thought it would be actually really, really strong with, I guess, like the way they do Christmas pudding. Generally people douse the shit out of it. So, you know, it's usually pretty overwhelming, depending on how much people put, but generally people buy it or make it and they put more alcohol in. So I was expecting something along the same line because it's rather kind of similar in terms of what goes into it, I guess. But it's actually overwhelmingly really easy to eat, especially when it's warm. I think it's much better when it's warm. What I was also a little bit surprised about is, with the filling in particular, I was expecting more like sort of like a mince of the fruits, but like more like chunky and with little pieces that you can pick out, almost like when you mash up, I guess, like dried fruit, like after they've been soaked in some sort of liquid, and then there may be more like candy like, but you get like, say, marmalades, you get little chunks of stuff. But this one, to me, it's almost a bit pureed like, so it's like, it's thick and it's got a bit of viscosity to it, but it's also really, really sort of like smooth in terms of its texture, so it's more paste-like, but it doesn't feel like it's liquidy or just kind of like a jam. It's just got like a bit more of a bite and mouthfeel and texture to it, which kind of really rounds off the overall pastry and buttery experience as well. I think this is also common for people to want to make, so I do think it's not something like that's like disappearing in Australia, because people definitely do make their own, and a lot of people, the reason why I think a lot of people do make their own is not necessarily because I do know people that do that, but you always do come across every year people starting to sell like mince fruit in jars, so people can pick up a jar and then I suppose like pick up ready-made pastry for pies, and then you can easily put together with as much alcohol as you want to make the perfect fruit mince pie for your family Christmas, I suppose. It's really good, and it's not overly sweetened as well. It's actually perfect. This is actually really worth the amount of money that I spent on this, because it wasn't really exactly that expensive. And yes, it is only still November, but you know, I know this is kind of completely off topic, but am I the only one? I'm surely not the only one, because I've spoken to a lot of people that were thinking this, but do you guys not feel like this year has gone by so quickly? It's like, it's not like, oh, because of a certain age. It's just different people at different age have all felt like this year just kind of rolled past almost quickly. Like, it felt like it was meant to be only like maybe March last month, but now it's like all of a sudden we're almost Christmas, and after Christmas it will be 2018. Whereas I remember like a couple of years back it would be like the year goes by very slowly. That, or I really am getting cold. But then if you're thinking that, well, But if you know anything else about these fruit mince pies and their tradition or their origin from the UK, from a long time ago, things that I didn't mention or anything that I got wrong, let me know down in the comments below, because I really like to learn a little bit more about these stuff, because I mean, it's like 20 something years of living here and I didn't even really think about learning more about these things until recently, and it's pretty crazy. And let me know if you have anything that you guys usually have around Christmas in your country that I would be probably interested in making, or things that I don't know about. I'm just generally curious. And I guess that's it. We'll have to see you in another round of taste testing something else interesting. There are still a few more Australian products that I could probably taste around. Plenty of things that are unique to Australia, like lamingtons, and I think there's variations of the Christmas pudding that they're selling right now as well, like in different shapes, different kind of names, etc. It might be interesting to explore why there's those variations. But yeah, so if you'd like to see more of these